We're doing this.
Sounds good.
Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap number 192. Here we go. Tonight's guest is the one and only Bob Pressler. He has been involved in the fire service for over 50 years and is retired from the fire department of New York, where he had attained the rank of lieutenant. Bob currently serves as an assistant chief with the Christiana Fire Company in Delaware, as well as an ex-chief of the Montgomery Fire Department in Montgomery, New York. Pressler has a degree in fire protection engineering from Oklahoma State University, near and dear to my heart. He has spoken at FDIC, Firehouse Expo, Firehouse World. Basically, anywhere worth speaking, he has spoken at. He's been on advisory boards of both Fire Engineering, Fire Chief Magazine. As all of that is not enough, he currently serves at FDTN, Fire Department Training Network, on the advisory. He's written articles. He lectures around the country. So, audience, get your questions ready. 192 is going to be awesome. It is absolutely my pleasure to have you on as the guest of Weekly Scrap number 192. Welcome, my brother, Bob Pressler, to the Scrap.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the invite.
Man, I'm excited. Is there anything I missed or anything you want to add in the intro or anything? Yeah, basically anything you want to add.
Nah, that's more than enough. More than enough.
Fair enough. Audience, get your questions primed and ready. It's going to be a good evening. Sam is here in the background, making everything run smoothly. Kyle is up in Iowa doing Kyle things, teaching people how to hump hose. If you have questions and everything, bring it. I am counting on you, scrappers. It's going to be awesome. The Vigilantes, go to firehousevigilance.com. Sign up. $5 a month. You become a part of the Vigilantes, and you are part of the exclusive Cool Kids Club, exclusive discounts, exclusive swag, and access to influence the future of the scrap. We just added the ability to sign up for a year at a time. So if you want to be a part of it, you don't like monthly subscribers, go do it. We're also doing vigilante meetups. That's the people who are vigilantes. We meet up at these different conferences. It's a lot of fun. We're having one on Monday night. It's going to be awesome down there in Florida. This episode is brought to you by Key Hose. Check them out on Facebook, The Hose Experts. Flame Decon, get yourself clean. Flame removes carcinogens to the point of not detectable, man. Shower within the hour, use Flame Decon. And then, of course, Affordable Drill Tower. Firefighter, owned and operated. The only thing you can't do on an affordable drill tower is live fire. Affordable Drill Tower. You can rappel, stretch hose, go through the stairs, go through the floor, do window bailouts, cut holes in the roof props, use the apartment balconies, pump into the FDC, or flow water from the sprinkler system. Call Steve, 844-55-TOWER, or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. And with all that being said, we got all the background out of the way, and we're ready to kick this off.
Requirements. All the requirements.
The requirements. Excellent way to say it. Now, Bob, I have something I wanted to lead off with here. And this is when I announced you as the guest, I had someone reach out to me on Facebook, and I wanted to read this to you. If you'll indulge me here. And this comes from Valerie. And it's basically because people don't realize their impact sometimes. And I know I'm not sure that's the right way to say it. People don't realize their impact, and I'm kind of a sap. And Valerie Marshall Solano sent me this message on Facebook and said, I have to tell you this story because it changed the course of my career. Bob Pressler was my first sponsor. I was volunteering for a small department in Colorado when Bob came to the restaurant I was working at with a bunch of Castle Rock Fire Department guys, one of who was my community college fire instructor. She said, I had no idea who Bob was. Anyways, long story short, he found out that I was trying to get hired with the fire department and asked if I was coming to the training that weekend that I knew nothing about. I told him no, and he said, if you're going to be a great firefighter, you got to start training now. If you show up to class tomorrow, we will train you. I showed up to that class free of charge, and I was way outside of my skill and level and element. But that day, that class changed the trajectory of my career, and I am so thankful for that and the gentleman that made it happen. I specifically bid a training assignment twice within my organization to pass that purpose along. Every conference I've attended, I have never been able to catch Bob to tell him that story. So if you can please let him know I am forever indebted to him, I would be grateful. So that is the story that she shared with me, and I had to share it with you to lead off the scrap.
I appreciate it. I'll tell you a funny story in the same vein. When I did the hands-on training for the FDIC, we used to go back in the summer to do free training for all the companies that helped during the FDIC. So we're out to dinner the night before a live burn, and pretty much the same thing. The waitress comes up and says, "Oh, I always wanted to be a firefighter." And we're like, "Well, why aren't you?" "Well, my boyfriend doesn't want me to." "Screw him, get rid of him, drop him. What does he know?" So I get the brilliant idea. I ask if she wants to be a fire instructor. So she's like, "Sure, why not?" So we get her address, we pick her up in the morning, we take her to the live burn, we introduce to everybody, "Oh, here's your instructors for the day." We proceed to do 6, 7 fires, and all we told her is just stay with one of us. Don't go wandering around. So she has the time of her life. At the end, we told the host department that we're going to do one more fire because we wanted to try something. So we give her her own fire, right? Same thing. Changes this whole young lady's career. We give her this whole fire, and we think we pulled this shit off. So they took pictures, and the last picture, of course, is us posing in front of the burning house. And 3 weeks go by, and they go, "Hey, the pictures are up on the website." So I scroll through them quick, and I get to the last one, and it says, "Your live burn instructors, Tim, Bob, Mike, the waitress from the night before." That's what they put, because no one could remember her name. And I'm like, "You got to take that down." So we quickly changed that a little bit, but you know, it's great to hear stories like that. It just shows that sometimes we do the right thing.
Right.
And just doing something to try to help somebody might have that kind of an impact.
I love it, man. I love it. All right, coming at you from everybody. Joe Gavita said, "Good evening, everyone." John McCoy said, "Excited for those Pressler nuggets." Jamie Lynn said, "Send it." Where was that? Chris Dye said, "Station 32 checking in. Knowledge time." Todd Torbett said, "Tennessee is checking in." Joshua Everett said, "Vigilante Nation." Absolutely. Key Hose is in the house. There we are. Everybody's checking in. Bill Meehan said, "Bob's one of the best, always helpful after a box and always willing to rack hose and is into the job." So absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Pulling up. I got that out of the way. I always ask guests, anytime I'm having a guest on, I say, "What do you want to talk about? What do you want to discuss?" And I loved your answer because you said I'm an open book, which I appreciated the humor. But also, you said, "I love your answer. The basics, man." So let's start there and go from there.
So I had a couple of interesting things happen early in my career. And one, I was in a couple of different fire departments before I went to New York. And I thought I pretty well had a good idea what I was doing. And, you get to be a 2, 3 year wonder. And we just never seemed to hone in on one thing. And we were always trying to, what's new? What's the new thing? What are we going to do? And basically, we never learned to walk before we tried to run. And I ended up getting on in New York City after spending 3 years in a combination department in New Jersey. So I'm in New York City. I get assigned to 255 engine in Brooklyn, a place that was just starting to get busy, and to this day is one of the best places to work in the city. And the following year, I go to St. Patrick's Day. And I go to St. Patrick's Day, and I bump into a guy I stood in the Proby school with. And he's like, "Oh, man, I'm beat. We had a terrible night." And I go, "Oh, did you have a couple of fires after midnight?" He looks at me and goes, "No, we had to get up after midnight." Well, I worked in a place that had a lot of pull boxes. So if we went to bed before 4 o'clock in the morning, we were having a good night. And it made me think about just how different perspective is, how long we have to capture somebody before they become that way. "Oh, I was hired for my side job because I had to get up at night." And, you start looking at the basics and you start looking about what we need our people to be able to do. And I'll fast forward now. I get another example of this. So Christiana, where I'm assistant chief, is in Newcastle County. So this is back probably 2 years ago. We go on a box, report of a fire to a neighboring department. Turns out to be nothing. We're on our way back to the firehouse. And they call the engine in the tower, and they go, engine 12, tower 12, automatic alarm, fire alarm, automatic alarm, 808 Harmony Road. So I don't go on those because it's just a fire alarm. If they upgrade it, I'd go. But I'm listening because I'm out. And I happen to look at the computer screen, and further down it says 808 Old Harmony Road. So then the dispatch comes on and says, engine in tower 12, there's a group home, there's a language barrier, but when we asked if they wanted the fire department, they said yes. So I'm like, well, that changes things.
Right.
Battalion 12 fire board, give me a box. Are you there, Battalion 12? I'm like, no. But the information is telling me I want help coming.
Right.
So we go to 808 Harmony Road, and we always lay in. We start a line. The truck's getting ladders. We bang on the door, and some poor old lady wakes up, and she's like, what are you doing here? And we're like, is this a group home? We know it isn't. She goes, no. So I get on the radio, Battalion 12 Fire Board, verification on the address, 808 Harmony Road. I go, are you sure it's not Old Harmony Road? Oh, additional information, 808 Old Harmony Road. So one of the engine companies paying attention to asked if they should start for the other address. We've got 400 feet of feeder line and a pre-connect stretch. So we leave that. We head for the other assignment. We get there. That first two company drops 800 feet of hose. They stretch the line. There's ladders going up. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and they both turn out to be duds. But here we are packing up over 14, 15, 1,600 feet of hose between the two spots. And you know who was bitching? Nobody. They want to do fireman things, and they want to do them till they're so good that they do them automatically. And that's the basics. You know, if you still have to look at your face piece and try to figure out how to get it on your face, or if you don't know where your straps are, you haven't done it enough. You know, the call to start a line isn't a request for the paramedics. It's for you to take hose off the fire truck. You know, so that shouldn't be a cause for concern. It should be, oh, wow, this is good. This might actually be on fire. But if you don't hammer those basics and have them down pat to where they're mindless, your operation's already starting at a default for what it could be.
Mm.
So the basics, and no one complained because they all want to be firemen. And I know it's firefighters now, but the female firemen understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Hell
They
yes.
want to be firemen. Let us do fireman things. And we don't care if we do them 10 times, because I want to do them so they become mindless. That's when you know you're starting to win. It's the basics till you're sick of them, but they're the basics till you don't have to think about doing them. You know, I've had young firefighters out of fire ask me why I did something, and I'd actually have to stop and think and go, geez, did I do that? Because it's automatic. It's what I do. And that's what you want to get. I approach doors the same way. Every door I approach the same way. You know, it's part of what I've developed for me. I pass that on. You know, it's one way. It works 99% of the time. And when you do it the same way every time, it's easier to figure out why it's not working. But it's the basics. You can't build a house without a foundation. And if you don't have the right foundation, you end up with a shack. You build the right foundation, you end up with a high rise or whatever you want it to be, because you just keep adding to it. But the foundation is what gets you through. And the last thing I'll talk about the basics is the things I'm doing today are what I've done my entire career. And it's not that I don't look to change. As I get older, I'd like to do things easier, smarter, but I haven't found what I need to change yet because it's working. And that's what I try to get people to understand. You want the basics down pat. You can explore other things. You can look at different stuff, but you want the basics down pat so that you can do them at 3 o'clock in the morning without thinking about what you're doing.
Mm. No, it's strong, man. It's very strong. People chiming in. Here they come. Checking in from Kentucky. That came from, I want to get it right, Matt McAllister. My guy, James Michelisco, said, my guys have trained with him at FDT and speak very highly of him. If he's working with Jim, he is world-class. Absolutely. Amanda Miller said, preach with 3 E's. So, you know, she's on board. Amanda, she also said 1,000 times and keep at it. Keep going till it's breathing. Let firemen be firemen from the Stone Face Fools. William Schnakel wants to know, Bob, he put asterisks on this, so roll with it. I can't remember if it was you or Mike, but one of you had shared your opinion on theory versus experience and the importance of discovering for yourself.
Well, that was one of my things I thought up. And basically what I had said is knowledge without experience is only theory. Because I can read a book tonight on being a brain surgeon, and I can have that knowledge, but until someone lets me try it, I think I can do it, right? And
Right.
It's really everything in the fire service. And, you know, I think I said to her, I said, I'm going to end up pissing some people off, but look at all the forcible entry doors are out there. And they're finally wising up and changing them a little bit. But up to recent history, almost every door, the way it worked is that you move the door against the spring to get a gap. So you could put the forks in left, right, upside down. You could do a lot of different things and eventually get the door to move against those springs so you could force the door. So we taught people bad habits because of the presence of a spring. I haven't found an apartment door that had a spring between the door and the jamb yet. So most easy doors, wood doors, single doorknob block doors, you know what? It probably don't matter which way the forks go in. You could probably force it with both. One will be a lot easier. But when you have a metal door and a metal frame with 3 locks, it 100% matters which way the forks go. And we've let people work on these doors. They can force a blue door all day long or a green door. I'm not picking on any one manufacturer. But they can force them all day long, and they finally get a good door with multiple locks, and the door won't open. And they don't understand why.
Right.
So we're not teaching the technique, we're teaching to defeat a prop.
Teaching
And
how
that's
to
what we
beat the
get
prop.
on the battleground.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's, hold on, I'm gonna sneeze again. Pardon me.
God bless you.
Something's got a hold of me. Something's got a hold of me for sure. No, teaching to the prop is a big deal because they don't accurately portray and you learn to defeat the prop, but not the mental process to defeat the issue of the door in front of you. Does that make sense? I know it makes sense to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, Jimmy McCormick, one of the things he's done at FDTN, he no longer lets you gap the door. Because guys will start to gap the door, it'll slip out, they'll gap it again, then they get a bite, they gap it a 3rd time, then they gap it a 4th time, and then finally they break the wood, and then they put the forks in. So all they learned is try to gap the door 5 times.
Right.
So 2 years ago, he said, you know what? Enough with the gapping. Let's pretend this is a door that won't gap. So learn to do it with the forks. And guys that were routinely forcing 8 or 10 doors during a rotation were down to 2 and 3 under conditions. Because all of a sudden they couldn't gap the door anymore. They had to rely on the forks and the sound. And, you know, again, I've been doing this long enough. I kind of always say what I feel.
Right.
I get a kick out of all these guys that are marking up their Halligans. So we're going to put a line on it where the crotch is. Well, so I'm going to see this little line in the smoke, but I won't be able to see the crotch. I'm going to square the shoulders off so I can slide the Halligan down, or the axe down the Halligan when I can't see, but I'm going to wrap it with paracord and hockey tape so it won't slide anyway. We're looking at all these neat things that don't pass the sensible test when you try to use them on the fireground. And it's the internet. We've become a world of extremes. Never do this, never do that. It's like, well, no, there's times for a lot of it. I wouldn't do some of it most of the time, but it might be the one thing you need.
Right.
But, you know, we're full circle back to the basics. If I teach you how to force a door, I also teach you how to force it when you can't see the Halligan. It's not by sliding the axe head down a shaft where the firefighter holding the Halligan's got nowhere to put their hands now. So it's like, does it pass the silly test?
Right.
And a
No.
lot of stuff out there right now isn't.
No, and Jim McCormick, and the last time I talked to him, we had a long conversation about the silly test and things that people do in relation to it looks good, but does it pass the common sense firefighter test?
And I say I'm back to being a kid. I'm back to show me. So you have an idea, well, you got to show me, and then I'll try it. I can't listen to what you're saying. I had it happen today. We were talking about stretching today, and it's a little thing, but a young firefighter's telling me what he's doing, but he's leaving out a piece that I can't understand what he's saying. We're leaving out 50 feet of hose someplace, and I have to know where that is. So right before show me, he added one more set of words, and I understood what he meant. But the next thing was we were going outside, we were going to stretch. Because it's working for him. Maybe it will work for me. Maybe it will be better for me. But I just can't listen to someone say, oh, this is going to work all the time.
Right. Is that humility to say, will this work? And I can listen to you, but I have to test it and show me.
Sure. Because it's going against something I've done for a long time.
Right.
And
that has worked for you.
And has worked for me.
Right.
Listen, if something don't work, I find something better.
Right.
I mean, you have to, right?
Right.
You can't just say, well, that didn't work. That's the American Fire Service with 1 3/4 lines in stores. Right? We've been doing that. It's 1 3/4 lines off standpipes, 1.5 inches off standpipes.
Right.
Hasn't worked well yet, but we're going to keep on doing it.
Keep on plowing forward. Yeah, absolutely. No.
Yeah.
All right. More questions coming at you. Michael Allen wants to know, are you ready for this?
Sure.
What do you think the biggest challenge for training officers is in the fire service? And what advice would you give to have success in defeating that challenge?
So the biggest problem is social media has made it that anybody with an idea can build a platform around his idea. And I don't want to add names to this, but there's a gentleman several years ago that started writing on a particular type of fire and made himself the international authority on this type of fire. And I happened across it, I don't know if it was Facebook, Instagram, some chat someplace, guys going at it. And this guy's in there giving his knowledge to the group. And finally somebody said, well, how many of these fires have you actually gone to? And the guy left. That was the last he posted. So social media makes you an instant expert. We used to laugh. It was 50 miles in a briefcase. You couldn't get anything done at your own department, but you packed the briefcase, walked, got in the car, drove 50 miles. You were an expert. So the thing for training officers is almost like I just talked about with the hose stretch. Someone's going to give a class here. What's the class? How are you delivering it? And what is the goal of your class? What are you hoping to teach my people to accomplish by giving us that class? And then the last thing is ask around. There's plenty of people you can ask. Hey, have you taken a class from these guys? Oh, yeah, great class. Another one. Well, you know what? A couple of things I took home from it.
Right.
You have to develop your people to ask, what do you think of this guy?
Right. No, and I will say this is that the review process is most of the time, if you get, I got a couple things out of it, that's a pretty bad class.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty low. I remember taking a class one time where I was getting so angry as I sat there, and I'm like, I was looking around the room going, how come nobody is mad about this class right now? This is ridiculous. And I realized then, of course, that's my own self saying, Corley, don't sit here and judge people because you're not teaching classes. So it may be a lot harder than you think, but not the point. My point was, I was just like, why is everybody sitting here listening to this? How come no one's saying this is bullshit? And and it really frustrated me at the time. This was quite a few years back, but anyway, so I feel that.
But because young firefighters are sponges,
Yes.
right? They're going to take what you give them, and some are going to take it as gospel. Another quick example. Went through an extrication drill a couple of weekends ago. And one of the members of one of the departments I'm in, he decides that, he has a way to start door pops. Right, wrong, or indifferent, he puts this out. So it doesn't work. It takes us way too long to finally get the door. But there's a very young officer there trying to learn. And at the end of the hour and a half drill, we make him in charge of an extrication. So what's the first thing he tries to do on the door pop? Is the thing he just saw that didn't work.
Right.
But he has nothing else to put it against.
Right.
Right? He was just shown this. It didn't work this time, but it's worked before. So that he's got to drop that from his memory bank now. And we got to insert something else and get him out there to try it a couple of times so he can see the difference. You'll learn all the shortcuts, long cuts, good things, bad things. But, the broken record time, you got to have a solid foundation in the basic things to do before you start worrying about all the oddball things to do.
Right. No, which ties right back into your topic, the basics and mastering those basics. No, I love it. All right. Nozzle talk.
So
Go ahead.
I'm just going to jump to something else because, I try not to comment on social media because you get in a fight with your keyboard and it's not worth it most of the time.
Right.
But I remember reading a post, security gates. A lot of people don't have them. So the ones that do form opinions, and we started finding them on storage facilities now. So some instructor posts that stopped doing the TP cut, the inverted V. And he had all his reasons, and we're going to do a barn door, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And I read it and I look at it, and I'm like, they missed the point because what's the advantage of a TP cut? 2 cuts with a TP cut, gravity wins and part of the gate falls down. I don't have to slide anything. I don't have to make an elongated cut over my head. I only have to make 2 cuts, not 3 or 4. But when I'm done with 2 cuts, I'm going to have some kind of opening to introduce water into the fire. Now, if you take the most vertically challenged firefighter you have to make your TP cut, it's probably going to be a little low.
Right.
But if you take your tallest one, then someone can walk through. Then you can do all the sliding you want of the slats. Good video a couple of years ago. I didn't capture it. I wish I had. Those companies pulling up, store roaring. It's already out over the top of the gate. They got a real good fire. They try to do, some people call it the 111 cut. Some call it the barn door. They try to do some kind of cut, but it's involving sliding slats after the cuts are done. Well, the fire had warped the gate. So they can't get any water on the fire. The gate won't open. Now you look like a bunch of buffoons. Where again, is there a time for those other cuts? Absolutely. What's the default? The default is an inverted V because gravity wins and you get to put water into the fire area. Right? And again, sometimes you shake your head with people.
I like it. Nozzle talk. You said you wanted to do some nozzle talk. So that's a very broad topic, but I'm throwing it at you.
So tell me about fires today, right?
Okay.
Are they hotter? What's the deal? If they generate more heat?
Right? More heat, faster.
So,
I think that's the principle. Yes.
Yeah. The students of the game agree that the fires give off more heat quicker. They don't get any hotter.
I agree.
Right. We're not putting pure oxygen into our fire problem.
Right.
They just get a lot hotter, a lot quicker.
Right.
So again, you look at social media, for a long period of time, everybody was about gallons of water win, gallons of water a second. And then all of a sudden, the nation's tip shows up, the 7/8, and all of a sudden now we're not strong enough to hold the 15th, 16th nozzle. So we're going to give up 25 gallons of water a minute for a nozzle that, you know what, can you put out fire? Absolutely. But what type of fires are you going to? That's what no one's talking about. So I'm a 15th, 16th guy. It's what I used in New York City. You know, one of the shames of the whole nozzle talk is the diehard automatic nozzle people never use the smoothbore. A lot of people that use the smoothbore that want it now, what did they start with? Automatic
Automatics,
nozzles.
right?
But regardless of which one you want, what's the flow you're putting out? So you can go on YouTube every day, any of the fire websites, people are putting up videos of how, you know, their year-end video, and you can see fires that are not going out. And you can tell the difference between a 7/8 and a 15, 16. As you can tell, I'm a smoothbore guy. But I don't want to give up 25 gallons of water a minute for 9 pounds of nozzle reaction. And then to make it worse, there's a group out there telling us we should be able to throw a 35-foot ladder by ourselves, but we can't hold 9 more pounds of nozzle reaction. So did the fires get less so we don't need the gallons of water? Or did we get weaker so we don't have to throw a 35 anymore? And we've just become a fire service of extremes. So
Right.
I watched the video not too long ago. One of the companies putting out the year-end, you know, show of what they did. And they showed this one-story house going pretty good. And nozzleman gets up there, flakes out the line, opens the line. And where he aims the nozzle, the fire darkens down for a second. And as soon as he moves it to try to get in the door, the right side lights back up. And in the silhouette, it's a 7/8 tip. So I call their chief of training to break his balls a little bit. I go, what do you give you guys for the smoothbore? He goes, well, 15, 16, but we know some of them are using the 7/8. And I'm like, if they watch the video, the fire isn't going out. So the last thing with this is I end up at the Fort Lauderdale Fire Conference 2 years ago, and I meet up with one of the 7/8 guys, and we're going back and forth. And finally, he goes to me. He goes, "I'll have you know, we put out a lot of fire with a 7/8 tip." And I go, "I'm sure you do. We just put them out quicker." And he didn't know what to say, but I'm not giving up my 25 gallons of water. I'd rather teach my people when to open a line, when to shut the line. But we're going to knock down the fire. Christiana, the good fires we get every year are usually townhouses, top to bottom, front to back. And I'm not telling you we stroll through them like a walk in the park, but we do kind of go through them pretty quick, flowing 185. And would we put them out at 160? Yeah, but maybe not before the second floor fell on us. So you got to know your fires. You have to understand the difference between the nozzles. The low pressure fog nozzles, right? You can get a 50, 175. I still don't like the stream over the smoothbore, but I'm not giving up my gallons of water per minute because everybody tells me fires are hotter. And the one thing I do know is the thing that beats the heat is the water.
Mm. No, it's hard to. And someone asked here, and I want to throw these questions at you. John McCoy said, do you think they are giving up the GPMs on the nozzle reaction because they are too lazy to learn good technique?
So I don't know if I'd call it lazy. That could be part of it. I think a lot of it is because the 7/8 tip became America's nozzle. But I don't know why. So I guess I'm anti-American because I'm not giving up the 15, 16ths. You know, and part of it is the training because the 2.5 is still the bastard child. So they had a good fire down here in Delaware, at a woodworking place. And basically the first new engine with the officer and 2 people on the line and the truck helping a little bit, they moved the 120 feet into this building pretty much before help got there. You know, it's a training issue.
No, it
But
is.
again,
Yeah.
as
Sorry.
they say, it's a training issue. We're right back to square one, right? They never got the proper training in how to do it. Is it
Right.
easier with 4 people on the line, 5 people on the line? Absolutely. What if you don't have them today?
No, you're right. And I will say this, like even in my department, we're moving to 7/8. We've had automatic. We went from high pressure, 200 gallon per minute, like high pressure nozzles, and kicking our ass on 1 3/4 inch. And then we were so happy to get to the 7/8 where we are like, holy, we can move this thing. So it was a progression. And we were so happy to get there. You know what I'm saying? And so I know from my. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that. Well, would they tell you now if you need the extra gallonage? What do they tell you to do with the 7/8 step?
We'll probably hop it up a little bit, but yeah.
They tell you to pump it up to 60 nozzle pressure, and it gets you up to 170 something, whatever it is. So now you're already going to fight the nozzle more.
Sure.
And listen, I understand.
For less. No, I get it. Less, more nozzle reaction, and less than if you just were at the 15/16 to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know your type of fire. Maybe 9% of your fire is 7/8. But you know what? Like I said, I learned that it's easier to teach guys, hey, shut the line down, than, geez, I wish I had 25 more gallons of water a minute in today's modern fire environment.
I like the discussion. I like the discussion a lot. I was just so happy to get to go from the high pressure fogs to being able to absolutely.
Amen. Yeah. Absolutely. Why do you think
steps.
the nozzle manufacturers offer 50, 150, 50, 175
Right.
automatic nozzles? Because they were losing market share to smoothbore.
No, absolutely, man. No, beautiful question or beautiful answer, man. I'm looking for questions here. Excuse me. Coming back to you, Bob. Pulling up the notes.
I'm trying not to beat up on anybody, but
go.
When stuff gets on the internet and it just gets unbearable to watch, and it's always followed by, this is what you should do. The big thing for a while was don't stop for a hydrant, right? Come straight to the scene. You can put out a lot of water, a lot of fire with tank water. Well, what if it don't go out? Well, then, we have one place that, they use booster backup. So how big are your buildings? What is your fire problem? And I reviewed articles for fire engineering years ago, and, we had an author, a pretty well-known author, and he got highly upset because I questioned what he wrote. And what I said to him is, I said, I don't mind all of what you wrote, but you're writing it like it's everyone's answer. And if you just put, in my department, this works very well for us, that gives me an option now, right? I can look at what you wrote and say, well, I see where in your department that might work, but I got some buildings that I don't think it would. We've had an exchange of information. You had valuable information, but it doesn't work for me. But as soon as you say never stop and drop a line, I stop listening to you. Because there's a time I'm bringing water. Now, it may not be every time. I fought a lot of fires on tank water. There's a lot of variables. But when your one booster backup doesn't work and you burn down a row of frames, I think the chief might have a discussion with you at the end. So, when you look at your instructors, you look at all the stuff that we're talking about, make sure that they're teaching for you.
Right.
What does your department need? What's that outcome supposed to look like? Because one thing doesn't work for everybody.
No, and I absolutely agree with the fact of, and I'm a huge fan of booster backup in my jurisdiction, which is we have, the majority of it's going to be bungalows that are separated by at least 15 feet, and so booster backup with the second due showing up with another 750 gallons, giving us 1,500 gallons on scene in the first 3 or 4 minutes means we have a lot at our disposal. If you're going into row homes and not establishing a water supply, I think you're begging for and I don't think anybody's hopefully not anybody is preaching going into row homes, it's just stacked on each other saying, don't establish a water supply.
But what they do is they slant their article to get the back and forth from people. They do it to raise, to get somebody mad at them.
Sure.
But
no, I get it.
But you did it the perfect way. You said, well, in my district, it works all the time. The shotgun shacks, we got 1,500 gallons of water. Second engine's there pretty quick. We do a lot of damage. Okay. What are you doing? It doesn't work.
Right.
Right. Does the third engine always look for a hydrant then? I always looked at Detroit. Detroit, the first engine leads out. The second engine hits it with a monitor, dumps the tank water. They slow a bunch of fires down like that. Yeah, would I do that here? I guess if it showed up, but they do it routinely.
Right.
Two engines dump their tank water through monitors, and then you go mop up with whatever you want.
So
but
I think.
Gotta preface it.
No, I'm listening.
Like I say, you just have to preface it by, in my department, it works real well.
Right.
There is no one size fits all.
Right. No, I like. And I think mainly, the big thing with the takeaway between this discussion is know your district, know the tactic that fits you the best. Absolutely. Is there a time for booster backup? Absolutely. Is there a time where you need to be thinking about water supply on first and second too? Absolutely. But there is no absolute.
There should not be, right? There should not be any always do this.
Right.
Someone has to have the company officer is the backbone of the American Fire Service.
And nothing replaces. Yes.
And with that comes his ability to make decisions. And sometimes they're going to make good ones. Sometimes they're not so good, right? That's part of that learning curve. But you give them enough information to make good decisions. And they're going to make decisions. And maybe, I don't know if I would have stopped and laid a line. You had a good view of the house, looked like nothing. But the default, at least for me, until they learn, put a line in the street.
Right. Now, I will say this, which is because there are a lot of departments that are like, no matter what, you will always lay a line. You will do this each and every time. And it goes the other direction. You know what I'm saying? Which I think is kind of the reason for the push for, we don't have to do this every time. I think the push is almost a counter reaction to the every time we do this. Does that make sense?
Oh, sure. So Christiana, Delaware drops a line every time. So what does that do for us, though?
Hit me.
One, it's no longer a big deal to get a line in the street. We're relatively quick at it. We're relatively good at it. We can lay in, we can reverse out. So if we do get too close and we should have dropped in, we have the ability to lay a line out.
Right.
But we have some areas where we're alone a long time. So we're making sure we have water. But we get new people that join the fire department. We run our own little rookie school for a weekend. When they ride the rigs, what do you think they do every time they're here for the first 5, 6 times?
Right.
They go out and stretch. And they stretch again. Then they stretch some more. We get a box, report a fire. They stretch. And what do we create? That muscle memory. So stretching a line, this kind of happens. We're not runners. We've been accused of runners. We don't run. We move with a purpose. And what that does for us, a lot of times when you run, you end up with kind of a messier hose line. So because we're a little bit slower, we don't chase a lot of kinks. Most times our line is flaked out properly before water's sent. So, I mean, if you're sprinting up there and you're not getting water anyway, just slow it down a little bit. We're taking that hurried out of it, that, we're still moving, but we're not running. We're not falling down. We teach them to get dressed quickly. They look at the building while they're getting dressed. And again, this is just all stuff I learned a long time ago that we're passing on to other people.
No, and don't get married to absolutes, like we always or never.
Oh, absolutely.
Arthur
No,
Ashley, go ahead.
good.
No,
No,
Arthur,
that's fine. Good.
no, I'm reading comments from the gallery. Todd Torbett said area staffing. I lost it. No, it scrolled. I'm sorry. Trying to keep track. Area staffing, all things that have to be considered. Arthur Ashley said 3 things that will always take place at a working fire: search, extinguishment, and ventilation. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Chris Dye wants to know, Bob, what's your favorite hose loadout? Minuteman, modified Minuteman, Cleveland load, flat load? What's your favorite hose loadout?
So what were those first 3?
He said
No, listen,
Minuteman.
I'm just
Fair.
I'm being a little bit of it. So, I laugh at the Cleveland load. Where'd the Cleveland load come from?
Forestry.
I wish he could answer us.
Chris might, but it may take a second for me to get the answer.
Yeah, because everybody thinks it's Cleveland, Ohio. It came out of the Cleveland forest someplace. It's a brush fire pack. And people are using it now in narrow hallways. Again, we demonstrated on the open floor plan of a drill tower, and it goes out real nice. We've tried it. Again, I try stuff because I see it. And I guess in a perfect world, you might take that into a building someplace. But you know what? I don't see it. But to answer his question, in my entire fire service career, except for picking line up, I probably had hose on my shoulder twice. I was taught hose goes on your arm. We don't get it up here trying to flake it off. Christiana, Delaware, they do. We've concocted a kind of our own, little setup. These guys love it, but our bundle is just that. There you go.
You got a worker?
I hope not. We'll know in a second. No, crash. 1101 Governor's Place. People have been running into each other all day long here.
Gotcha.
So, you know what? I like simplicity. And again, though, you got to look at your district. So if you have long stretches, shoulder loads can be easier. Depends on your staffing. Right? So ours is basically a modified Minuteman, but I would rather stretch on my arm than on my shoulder. So our bundle is actually what it sounds like. It's a horseshoe. You put it on your arm, you step back, next guy gets up, takes a couple of folds at the 1 3/4, 3 folds, 48 feet, right? 8-foot bed, 16 twice times 3, 48 feet. So every 3 loops is going to be about a length of hose. Then it drops down to 2.5. And again, it depends on how far they're going. So if I had my choice, everything would come off the rear. I would stretch everything off that bed. Not my choice, though.
No, great answer. Great answer. Absolutely. Pull it up. Slide it over. This one is I have my group, the Vigilantes, and I ask them every time I have a guest, I throw it at them. I'm like, here's the guest. So get your questions in for the Vigilante question of the week. This one comes from Adam Melkai, and he says, other than going first during training scenarios, what is the best way to help senior guys get over the fear of failure on the training ground?
So, you know what? A lot of that has resulted from the training has only become a thing in the fire service recently, right? I mean, for years, we train, but nobody did anything special. So now there's been this resurgence in company training, putting hose on the street, throwing ladders. And a lot of times you just got to walk them into it. You can't expect a guy that sat on the couch for 25 years to be excited about going out and doing stuff, as the new firefighter that wants to learn his skills. So maybe it's a little bit of downtime, just you and him as the company officer taking the guy. Hey, let's just go over this real quick. I want to give you a mark. Having him assist, not be the lead guy in it. Work them back into it slowly. Because what's the one thing they're probably a little bit worried about, though, too, is embarrassment,
Right.
right? So
Right.
if you put him up there on the stage, you're going to lose that guy forever. So how about you take him aside and, hey, you guys go get a drink, take 5, go to whatever you got to do, get a cup of coffee, and say, hey, Tom, just hold back a minute. Come here. You look a little unsure. So yeah, let's just do this together real quick. Whatever it is,
Right.
don't put him on the stage. That's the worst thing you can do. Take him aside. The same with the young guy. Young guy screws up. You scold him in public. It might change his entire career. And you got to watch stuff like that.
Dude is strong. Absolutely. There you go, Adam. What a great answer. All right. VES and current mindset. This is like Pandora's box. I know.
Oh gosh, So first of all, we had to add an I to it, because somebody wanted to write an article for the magazine and be the guy that inserted the I. So now it's VEIS, which I refuse to use because it was always part.
I was going to ask you, are you pro I or anti I? But I don't have to ask you that anymore. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, it was always part of what you did. So why do I have to remind you? Are we dumbing everything we do down that far? That I got to tell you. So we tried to do the whole alphabet. For VES, it was going to be A, B, C all the way through. We just wanted to use all 26 letters, but we got kind of stuck. We couldn't do it. But where does it stop?
Right.
So VES, it's been being done forever. Who coined the name? I have no idea. Some people say it was the New York City books. Who knows? Doesn't really matter, right? We're doing it now. More places are doing it. So what are the problems with VES? So the first one, we've had people tell us, we're absolutely not allowed to do it unless we know someone's in there, which is great for the someone that's in there, right? But how about the ones we never know are in there?
Right.
What else is wrong with that mindset? How good are you going to be if you never practiced it?
Right.
How good are you going to be even getting a ladder to the rear yard, picking the window, throwing it up, taking out the window, getting dressed and getting in there? So again, repetition is what makes things work. Ooh. So, we have our outside vent, every box alarm, heads for the rear with a ladder. And they get to do it. I think last year we had 600 and something boxes. I don't know what it came out to. But they got to practice this part of it, not only on runs, but in training. So when it's time to actually do it, really all they got to do is decide if that's a window they can get in. Right? Is that window going to let me in? I got the ladder here without a problem. I got the ladder up. I got the window out. I'm dressed. I get to the top of the ladder. Do I go or not go?
Right.
And that's what we're trying to take all the other fluff out of it. This is what we're doing. This is to get you in that window. So then the next one is, how do you get in the window? Well, I wrap my arm and I drop in. I go head first, So I'm a head first guy. And mainly because if you've never done it before and you try any of those other things, your head is higher in the window. So I want you as low as you can possibly be, hands out in front of you, you sweep, you sound, in you go, down low, head for the door. Well, where's the door? Right? So now you got to teach people how to look at a house and narrow down the possibilities where the door is going to be.
Right.
So there's so many little skills built into it that if you leave any of them out, the operation is heading for doom before it's heading for anything else. And then the last part of it, and it's not new, Cody Trestel from out in Portland, who now is in Montana, he was one of the first ones with VES Beyond the Door.
Right.
And I talked to him several years ago at the PDX, and I talked to him about it, and I said, my fear is that we're teaching this to people that have never even VES'd a room. And now people have picked up that battle cry and pretty much say, well, if you don't go out the door and across the room, you're a coward. Well, how about teach them how to do one room first? And after they've done it at 10 fires or 5 fires, and they felt the line hitting the floor underneath their feet, they felt the change in temperatures, they realized enough of what's going on that when they crack the door or that steam heat instead of fire heat, I probably can make it across the hall. But we're teaching people that have never done VES at a fire to leave their only way out. And I have a big problem with that.
It's beautiful, beautiful answer to this whole mess that we're talking about, man. I love the answer. Let me catch you up on all the comments coming from the audience. I'll even try. There's a whole lot here. Recliners and couches make great fire behavior drills. That come from Trip Hall. JB Lynn
If you
said,
burn them, they do. Tell them if you burn them, they make great drills.
repetition and debrief after training scenarios to discuss good and areas for improvement. I'm scrolling. I find that if you're out there doing firefighter shit, firefighters tend to start coming out of the woodwork. That comes from Amanda Miller, absolutely leading the way with the stuff that she does. Different states where I taught VES demanded an I in it. That's from Arthur Ashley. And people asked, what's the I? And people had to actually tell them it's isolate. Justin McWilliam is the
idiots.
There you go. The I is for ignorance. You heard it first here on the scrap if you haven't heard it before. For those reasons, I like using window-based search for VES. Forgot who I first heard that from. Justin McWilliams, I know, is a huge proponent of window-based search. Arthur Ashley said, VES is the safest form of search we can do. There are officers and chiefs scared to death of it, making their people scared of it, makes them not want to do it, while only a pane of glass separates us from them. Quick grabs turn into lost opportunity. That's a great way of saying it. Window initiated search. That comes from Chief Rhodes, Michael Allen clarifying. I'm trying to catch everybody here. I'm trying to catch everybody up. Dustin, John McCoy said, Dustin, as a chief myself, keep that pressure, keep calling them out, and you'll finally make headway. It's worth it. That white makes our heads harder. Yeah, there we go. Window initiated search. So yeah, I think you touched a nerve, Bob.
Well, I'm sure I did, but you look at everything we do in the fire service. So I go out and I teach truck company operations, right?
Right.
And during it, one of the things I tell the students, and if the chief is there, I tell him, this is going to become hard on you because you're used to a brand of mayhem that you've accepted over the years. Now, all of a sudden, there's going to be a guy diving in a window, the guy going to the roof. A lot of places, they don't do it routinely. So their answer is, we only do it if we absolutely have to. Well, then It's more dangerous because you haven't let them practice it enough. So, the chief has to be bought into this to let him know that, this is going to be a little bit harder. And, we're not talking chief stuff here, but we kind of lost our focus on that too. So I'm a terrible poster child for being a chief. So, I don't wear a vest. Most of the times I don't get dressed, which I probably should put something on to identify me as a chief. Baseball hats don't work. But, I spend the first 5-6 minutes of the fire in front of the fire building. I don't believe in the car. I don't believe in behind the car. I believe in front of the fire building for this reason, though, is that when I have an engine in a truck or 2 in 1 or 1 in 2 there, they all have pretty specific jobs to handle. Right? The engine's trying to get a line insert, the truck's trying to search, the other truck might be ventilating or VESing. They're all doing something. And my argument has always been, who's watching the building? So you'll find me with my clipboard, and basically I'm just keeping track of the order because some places we have a lot of people coming all at once. But I'm there, I'm the eyes of the fire ground. And I don't talk on the radio. I want to see the guy from the second engine coming down the street. And I might say, hey, second line off engine 12. But what am I waiting for? I'm waiting for water on the fire. Primary search is negative. And when I hear water on the fire, I'm still looking at the building to make sure that the conditions that I see are telling me that it really does have water on the fire. And then if I put 2 and 2 in service, now I'm going to retreat to a place
Right.
where I can get the board out, I can set it up. But, we're fortunate. We go to a lot of fires here, and most are 1 or 2 line fires. I got all these other people coming, but they have to pass me. It also cuts down on a shitload of freelancing
Right.
because they can't sneak into the building because I'm going, hey, where are you going? So for me, it works. I'm not telling people to get out of their cars. I'm just saying what works for me and why it works for me. I want somebody watching my fire building.
All right. Question coming at you from Justin McWilliams. He says, Bob, what are your rules of engagement for search? The things you teach every fireman about search that will be used no matter if they search through a door or a window.
So it does change a little bit only because of your point of reference. And the easiest way to answer your question is, what are they taught in fire school? Right? Because we sometimes have to unteach people in order to get them to understand what we want them to do.
Nice.
So the first big thing, in your district, the buildings that you go to fires into most of the time could be bungalows, could be ranch-style houses, 2.5-story frames, split level, bi-levels, whatever they are. Teach your people to understand the layout. A bi-level anywhere in this country is, as long as we're talking about, because some people call them split foyers, but that style house, the layout is pretty easily the same everywhere. Now, that's not saying there's a mansion someplace that blows it all out of the water.
Sure.
But most places, a 2.5-story frame has a pretty similar layout. Yours might be deeper than mine, but they're laid out pretty close to the same. So we teach a lot of that. Learn building layout. If you're going to go in that window, where's the door going to be? But a search off a hallway, I've been teaching this for several years now, and it seems to be helping a lot of people. So we come down the hall, we come to a bedroom, right? You're going to dive in this bedroom. What do they teach you to do?
Isolate and clear. Ventilate once isolate.
Yeah. So we came in the hallway, right?
Right.
We come to the first bedroom. I say, Corey, go in and get this room. So what are they taught to do in fire school? Left hand, right hand, right?
Right. Just
so they go in these rooms. The average bedroom is how big?
10 by 14, 10 by 12. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So they go in that room. What's in that room? There's a bed. There's a dresser. There's a nightstand. There's a closet. There's a ton of kids' clothes. What's the hardest thing to find in that room? The wall, to do their wall search. And then what they do is they make this hard left, and they come to their first corner, and now they make a right. And they get across the room, and now they make a right. And now they get to the next corner, they make another right. Well, where's out?
No,
I gotta make a U-turn and make a left, and go to the corner and make a left, and come back and make a left, and then it should be on my right. So I teach people to leave their ass aimed at the door. So you come in a room, you start down one wall, whichever way you want to go, past the bed, you come to a corner, don't turn, slide.
Nice.
Slide along that next wall. Your butt is still aimed at the door. You're going to come to another corner, another piece of furniture. Slide along it. Keep your butt aimed back towards the door. If it starts to light up, conditions suddenly deteriorate, you don't have to retrace your steps. It's behind you. So we leave our butts aimed at the door, and it helps a lot of the young guys to understand it. Because to make the left and follow the wall gets them in trouble. Put one piece of furniture. We did a drill years ago. Pretty interesting to watch. It goes in a room, goes right hand all the way around the room, finds a victim, yells out, I got one. His boss, who was in the hallway, calls his other firefighter. They come in the room. Where are you? Oh, I'm right here. They go over. They grab the woman victim. He says to them, hey, I'm going to just look, make sure there's no baby. Well, when they made the turn to come to him, they hit a pile of debris. So what'd they do? They threw it out of their way. Well, this kid finds the baby. Now, how does he 100% sure know which way to go to get out? The way he came in, right?
Right.
So he
Okay.
starts
Okay.
retracing his steps, and what does he hit? Pile of stuff that wasn't there a little while ago. And depending on your experience, that might be enough to knock you off your snide. You might be done. And all it was is the stuff that these guys threw across the room
Right.
now became a hazard for him that he didn't touch on the way in. So, primary search, do we move furniture? We try not to. We reach around it, we sweep under it, but we don't move furniture. We don't throw mattresses off the bed. I went to a fire where they told us we're looking for two kids as we're going up the stairs. They're bringing an 8-year-old down. We get to the top of the stairs. My boss, crouches down, looks, and goes, "There's the baby." They had missed the baby on the mattress and flipped the baby in the mattress. And now the baby's underneath the mattress and the foot's sticking out.
Mm.
So we don't throw furniture. We don't move furniture. And, I keep telling you these little stories on drills. We did a drill the one day. Kid comes in to search a room. First thing he does is moves a chair in front of the door he came in. And we're in an area no bigger than 6 by 8 feet. And this kid, if that was a real fire, would have died there, yelling at us. "You guys blocked the door, you guys." We didn't do a thing. He put the chair. First obstacle he came to was a chair. He picked it up, put it behind him, put it in front of the door. Right? So you try to get people to understand, you search with the room. The room's going to give you obstacles. We encounter obstacles. If it's a bed, I'm going to get up on it, reach to the far side, see if there's a space between it and the wall. I'm going to sweep the whole bed. I'm going to sweep till my hands hit the two corners, in case the infant is laying up in the corner, right? But I'm going to try to keep my butt aimed at that door that I came in.
Dude, that butt towards the door is a nugget. I hope everybody takes away from this. That's solid. One of the places I almost thought I was going to die was in a 10 by 12 bedroom one time when I got disoriented. And I was like, and it was a 10 by 12 bedroom dominated by a king bed. You know what I'm saying? And it's like there's no space left at that point. And I literally
Every place you move, you hit something, right?
Yes. And I was like, how can I not find the door at this point? This is where I go out. And that was 15 years ago, but I still remember it to this day. 100%.
It's good that you do.
Yes.
It's good that you remember that. We all remember one of them.
Yes. So absolutely. I wish I would have known the butt towards the door trick at that point.
Well, you'll have to try it and let me know what you think of it.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't move as quick as I used to, but absolutely. How long do we have to make firefighters? The window. I love this question.
Well, it kind of goes back to the story I told of meeting the guy at the St. Patty's Day parade. So we both had a year on the job. He went to a place that getting up to do your job at night had already become an annoyance. And I was in a place that we were up all the time. So we were doing stuff together. We were doing fireman stuff. We were out on the rigs. You have a very little time for new firefighters. And, they talk about whatever generation we're up to now, X, Y, Z, W, I don't even know anymore. But we have a very short time to get them to become firemen. And once you capture them, once you get them thinking that way, most stay. A lot of people that turn out to be bums, whatever your terminology is for them, we lost them in the first year because of attitudes, because we didn't train with them, we didn't reinforce them, we talked down at them, we made them think they were stupid for not doing simple stuff. So when I went to rookie school, it was 6 weeks. So how much could they cover in 6 weeks? To quote a great friend of mine, we didn't come out as underwater bomb squad technicians. We knew how to force doors, we knew how to stretch lines, we sang Christmas carols in the smokehouse. We realized that it tasted like shit, but we weren't going to die from it. we did the pure basics because when you got out in the field, that's what you needed. And we continued to build on them. And like you said, I don't move as quick. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I've learned to work pretty smart over the years. And I'm still, pretty much one of the last ones out of the building. Most times I'm in there as an officer of some kind. If my guys are in or I'm there with them anyway. But the whole thing is we push them to learn fireman stuff. We reinforce it every time they're in the firehouse. We do fireman stuff. We stretch lines. If it's 3 degrees below zero and snowing like a mother, we're probably not stretching lines, or we're stretching indoors.
Right.
But we try to do something every day with our young guys that involves putting hose on the street.
Firefighter stuff.
Yeah. Because if you're not, and I mean, we have so many other people we're fighting with, the NFPA. I love asking people, what is the NFPA? Right? So what is the NFPA? It's a book club, right? They're a book publisher. So can you wear a leather helmet that's, from 1967?
I got to write this down. Hold on. Well, I got a timestamp. Sorry, I don't want to lose it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well,
can you, according to the NFPA? Absolutely not. According to the Not for Practical application, you cannot do that.
Yeah. So how many firemen are on your fire trucks?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed, brother. I really am. So I can't, yes, I got 5 to 4.
So 4 or 5.
Right.
So everybody around you, what do they have?
There's people with 3, 2, even just showing up with 1.
Right. So they tell us that if I die wearing an old helmet, the insurance isn't going to pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that if someone's riding a 3-man engine and one of their guys died, he's not going to get paid either, right?
Nope. Yes, sir.
So we picked the easily enforceable NFPA things that we know will piss people off.
You're right.
The ones that might save lives, the ones that actually matter, staffing, right? Physical fitness, equipment. We're not going to use that one.
We're not going to talk about that one right now.
Yeah, but your code is 10 years and 1 day old.
Right.
Oh, you can't wear that anymore. We're stupid. How about, and again, I kind of say what I feel. So how about national accreditation?
Okay.
And I'm stealing this from Mike Lombardo as commissioner of Buffalo.
Okay.
Right? So who are these people that do national accreditation?
Educate me.
Well, so are you an EMT?
I am an EMT. Well, I'm a state EMT. I dropped my national like 20 years ago, but I'm a state.
You had it at one.
At one
you had it at one time.
At one
right?
point, yes.
So that means you could come to Delaware and be an EMT, right?
Yes, sir.
No, you can't. They don't accept anybody else's.
Oh, really?
And there's several states. New York, you can't come from anywhere. And and I'm sure a lot has changed with this stuff.
Sure.
But what's the firefighter 1 or 2 mean?
Man, very little if you want to get down to the actual skills, and as opposed to passing a hiring process.
Yeah, so all it teaches is that national accreditation is people a lot smarter than we ever were, because they send money to these people to say that you're a firefighter too. Wow, that's pretty impressive. But we don't know if it means anything.
Right.
We don't know if they've ever been in a fire. So we got a lot of demons we got to fight in the fire service, We don't help ourselves, but there are some things that you look at them and are kind of silly sometimes.
Sure. Bob, I really enjoy this. I want to dig in, but I'm also going to ask you, because it's safe to say you've been doing this a while. Fair statement. Fair statement. Long in the tooth. Yes.
What's that?
Go ahead.
No, I didn't hear what you said at the end of that.
No, I said long in the tooth. Long in the tooth. That was just a
Yeah.
reference.
Yeah.
But no, 100%. I love this question because you've been around. What is the change you have seen that you love the most through your entire career, start to finish? The change you love the most. Like, I like to be positive, but I'm going to ask you the negative in a minute, so don't get me wrong. But I do want to get the positive.
So New York City went through a period, and I'm gonna guess at the number. I think it was 23 line of duty deaths in a very, very short amount of time. And when they looked at it, they found that a lot of them had to do with water issues of some kind.
Okay.
You know, aggressive truck companies without a water supply below them, going above the fire, whatever it was. There were issues that were attributed to water.
Sure.
And I thought one of the best things from my career in New York City is they did a back to basics program that all 8,800, whatever the number was that year, firefighters on overtime went out to the Rock and did a one-day class called Back to Basics.
Mm.
And we had several 27, 30-year guys go, where was this class 27 years ago?
Mm.
Best class I've ever had. And I think what had happened is that New York, like a lot of the fire service, was starting to embrace all these other roles that people want us to do. Hazmat, high angle, tech rescue, collapse. And the firefighting, you know, back in the day, you got your on-the-job training pretty much when you went out in the field. You know, there was firefighters that went out there first day and went to 4 fires.
Right.
You know,
Right.
those skills they gave you got reinforced real quick.
Mm.
And as the fire duty dropped and all this other stuff started to take over, firefighting became like secondhand.
Ooh.
And to me, that back to basics training in New York City, in my world, is what's really gotten the American Fire Service into that back to basics push. So over my career, I thought that was, you know, a milestone because the line of duty deaths there were explained and talked about, and they tried to come up with solutions, but it started that back to basics push.
Boom.
And I think that got carried into a lot of the American Fire Service, and it's never really gone away.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of faded away, but then it comes back with a new group of people. So I thought that's probably one of the best things that
Absolutely.
happened.
Dude, I love that answer. What is the change you've seen the most over the last 50 years, start to finish or whatever, that you're disappointed in or wish, yeah, I don't know the better way to say it. The opposite of what I just asked you.
So, and you know, people will say I'm just being an ass about this, but with this back to basics training, a lot of money became available in the fire service for teaching. And a lot of people have taken advantage of that, and some of them never should have.
Right.
And listen, it's been very good to me. I've taught in a lot of places. I've taught in probably 35 states, you know, and I have charged money, but I can tell you right here, I've never turned somebody down over money.
Right.
If they needed the training, we found a way to get it to them. But my point is, now, you know, you can go on Facebook every morning, look for the post that has 50 replies, and you notice the two opposite ends of the spectrum fighting over it.
Right.
And, you know, groups fighting over who invented a class. Well, neither one of you just came up with a title.
Right.
You know, there's not a lot of brand new stuff except for UL and NIST, those guys. You know, and they're finding out that most of the stuff they're telling us, we knew all along, we just didn't have to call it something.
Right.
Right?
No.
What's transitional attack? I got a question for you. What's transitional attack?
Man, it's knocking it down so you can get inside.
Okay. What if you're inside and you get driven out?
Fill me in.
Isn't that transitional attack? You transition from offensive to defensive.
That was, yeah, no, absolutely. I've never, I mean, obviously a lot of people haven't looked at it that way, but absolutely.
No, because it didn't fit somebody's article.
Right.
So how about you transition attack and you never get in the door? What's that?
No, that's definitely,
Defensive. Defensive.
yeah. Okay.
So transitional attack is another article. I couldn't tell you the year, but it's in Fire Engineering magazine, and it's a place that was burning a motel, and they decided that, because the two staircases were on either end of the motel, if they gave it a shot from the parking lot and slowed it down, then they could run and bring the line up there, and transitional attack was born. One of the first places to do it, and I believe they gave it its name.
Oh, really? No.
And now it's everything we talk about is, oh, well, if you hit it from here and you're cool and you bounce it off the ceiling, how about we just go put the fire on? How about we flow enough water with a well-trained group of firefighters and put out the fire and give the people inside a chance to live?
I love it. No, I love it. Brother, dude, I've enjoyed this. Complacency. This is one of my mantras. I do firehouse vigilance. It's a never ending fight against complacency. I believe complacency is the greatest battle we fight in the fire service. And, you are still plugged in and going after 5 decades. So this has a lot of, punch to me when I ask you this question. What are some tips that you can pass along if people want to keep up that fight and do it for a long time?
So it's something that I didn't do, and it almost cost me my life, is you got to keep in shape. And it's pretty funny, guys in the weight room all day long, bench pressing Volkswagens. It's not that as much as it is conditioning, walking, running, treadmills. There's a lot of aerobics in it. It's not necessarily brute strength. The strength helps you, but the aerobics are going to get you a lot farther. Years ago, we flew into Indy, and they met us at the airport and said, "Oh, you should have been here last night. We had a fire in an old downtown loft, and it was 6 stories, but 14-foot stories. So I mean, they were up there quite a ways, or whatever it was. It was maybe 12 foot, but to make a long story short, they had to stretch pretty far vertical.
Sure.
And the chief says to us, "Yeah, and almost the whole first alarm to get that one line up there, and then they were done." And Indy at the time probably had one of the most physically fit fire departments that I had ever seen. They could bench press Volkswagens.
Right.
But they weren't good at that. They weren't good at stretching. So you have to look at stuff like that. So keeping physically fit is one thing. One of the things that's keeping me going right now, I'm very, very fortunate. I'm going to fires with my son.
Nice.
So he's a firefighter.
Congrats.
Right. He's a fireman in Wilmington, Delaware. He's a captain here in Christiana with me. He's a fireman at home in Montgomery, where I still live. And he came home 2 years ago. He came home, I think, 6 times, and he made 6 runs and went to 4 fires. So, but that's keeping me going right now.
Right on.
When I come down, I spend time in the car. I try to ride at least for one of the days. And, I've been to fires where I've been a captain of the truck. He's been a captain of the engine. I took him to his first fire. Priceless stuff. The night he got sworn in, we get a run probably an hour after the meeting. His first fire is 3 townhouses roaring.
Oof.
So that's what's kept me going probably the last 7, 8 years now. So that's great incentive for me.
Dude, that's solid. That is so solid. I love to ask the question, what book or books, because I love books. First of all, I'm a reader, but book or books that you think firefighters should be reading?
So, you gotta say what you feel, right?
Right.
I'm not a real big guy for all the parallels with the military.
Okay.
I understand it. I have read some of them, but if I had a new firefighter, there's 3 books I'd tell him to read.
Okay. I love
Report from Engine Company 82. John Norman's Strategy and Tactics. and any one of the books by Brannigan. Anything with building construction. Because to me, and we're on our basics theme, right? These are the things they need to understand before they go someplace else.
Right.
For years, I was against the flashover chamber. I thought it was a great idea if you had 5, 6 years on the job, had been to some trainings, been to some fires. But for a rookie firefighter that has nothing to compare the flashover chamber to, oh, look at the fire snake. See it going over your head? Well, if you're in a wood frame building and the fire snakes are going past you, you're probably not where you want to be.
Right.
And I worry about some of that training. We're trying to get people to soar like eagles when they haven't left the nest yet. So those 3 books to me, you get into Norman's and Brannigan's. I mean, there's some technical stuff, but learn about the 5 types of building construction. How a building performs under fire conditions. What's easy, what's good, what's going to fall, what do we have time with?
Right.
Ask a brand new group of firefighters about building construction.
No, brother. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. Dennis Smith, John Norman, and Brannigan right there. 1, 2, 3. I cannot argue whatsoever. Brother, I absolutely love it. Okay. We have a thing we do on the weekly scrap. It is called the 5 questions for firefighters. After about 120 episodes, we switched it up, and now it's the next 5 questions for firefighters. We're getting ready to change it up again and go the next, but we're not there yet. So you still get the next 5 questions for firefighters. So the answers, there's no right answers. It's 100% your opinion. And the points are arbitrary. They're assigned by me and with the help of the audience. So my question for you, Bob, is are you ready for the next 5 questions for firefighters?
Sure, why not?
Why not? All right. Number 1, what single characteristic makes the difference between a run-of-the-mill firefighter and the top-tier go-to badass firefighter?
Investment.
Ooh. Elaborate.
So right now, I've been doing this, like you said, for a long time.
Yes.
And every day, I still do something in the fire service. I'm at one of my 2 firehouses. I'm reading an article. I'm searching the internet. I'm talking to people. So every day, I'm still investing something in this profession. And, we call them students of the game. And if I'm going to argue with you over 7/8 and 15/16, I better understand both sides of that argument, right? If I'm going to argue with you about VES or positive pressure ventilation or any topic that we have a discussion on, I better have enough information to defend my side of it.
Right.
So I've invested my life into doing this.
Right.
And to me, that's what makes the difference. People that want to be real good at basketball or football, what do? They invest a lot of time. They keep doing stuff. They practice. They learn. They get good coaches, good mentors. So it's an investment. Who suffers? Your family, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a cost for your investment. Bad bosses could do a lot of damage. Complacency, like you said, can do some damage. So, I've had people ask me, I'm assigned to a company, nobody wants to do anything. Well, I was in a department before I got in New York City. We got a brand new ladder truck. They didn't even want it leaving the firehouse. So I used to back it into the backyard because we had drive-through doors and run the aerial to different things that I could reach. So I got better at using the aerial. Eventually, they told me to stop.
Whoa.
Right?
Right.
So, and that's the thing. You want to invest what you can. You hope that your department pays you dividends for your investment.
Brother, I love it. And here's the deal: investment. When you first said investment, and I said elaborate, brother, you elaborated. And so many people said max points, max point. You got an easy max points there. I've never heard that answer before, and you articulated it so much because that is the difference between a run-of-the-mill firefighter and a top-tier go-to badass firefighter. Thank you for that answer, man. Amanda Miller said, this is probably my favorite answer to this question, max points. And that's how I feel about it, man. That's a great, great answer. Number 2, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice as a rookie, what would it be?
Pay more attention to physical fitness. And not much of an elaboration. I mean, you get comfortable, you go to rookie school. Most of us were probably in some of the best shapes that we ever were in our lives. And then, the smart ones kept running, kept working out, stopped eating all the firehouse food, right? So I wish I had paid better attention to that earlier in my career.
Nice. Love it. Number 3, what is your favorite training drill?
So I like forceful entry, and like I said, I teach it one way. I found very successful. I found it easy to teach people to get it. And one of the things I'm kind of happy with is my son. He probably says my spiel better than me now. And he's got other people repeating his spiel.
Nice.
So we've, and I was taught by people, but when I was taught, there wasn't any, and this is the wrong word, but there wasn't science behind it.
Okay.
It worked. No one investigated why it worked. And now you can go online and a guy's got a protractor and a Halligan tool, and if you go past this point, you lose 3 degrees of force. I mean, there was none of that. So I've taken what I was taught, and I just found what I believe is a pretty simple way of teaching that basic skill.
Right.
I don't shock doors. I don't get the defib out and set it to so many joules and shock the door. I don't think that serves a purpose for most people. If you forced 1,000 doors at fires, maybe shocking a door will help you. I think it became real cool to do when we started using metal doors to force. You banged on them and it sounded real neat, so everybody wails away at the doors. They couldn't tell you if there's one piece of wood behind it, 3 or whatever. So to me, that was an add-on thing that everybody wants to do, but they don't know what it's going to do for them. So I don't shock doors. I start at doorknob side, pry high. To the top on the doorknob side, break the seal on the door, grateful looking for food on the stoves, order a smoke. If there's 3 locks and when I pry at the top, it deflects all the way down to the doorknob, the other locks aren't locked.
Nice.
If I go to deflect that, the door doesn't move at all, the top lock is engaged. Right? So you're never going to know like 1, 3, and 5 are locked and 2 and 4 aren't, or vice versa. We're looking for starting points, right? So I find that everybody can do it, easy to do, break the seal, see how much deflection the door is going to give you, and it gives you a starting point. So I like doing forceful entry.
I love
and then swords right after that.
I want to 100% say, Mark Van Dyne said, hell yeah, Chief, max points, shocking doors is wasted energy. Become fast and efficient. 100%. Number 3, max points. Moving on to number 4. What mistake have you learned the most from in your fire service career? That's a long career. So I'm excited about this question.
Don't use fog nozzles.
Very easy.
I got burned pretty good. I got burned. That was the last time that it wasn't the last time I used an automatic nozzle. It was definitely the last time that it wasn't on straight stream.
Right
But,
on,
you know,
man.
I heard window breaking. I thought somebody was giving us some ventilation. I had the old narrow fog stream, you know,
Right?
and it burned the shit out of my head.
Oof.
So I realized that, yeah, if you have ventilation, if you notice ventilation, if the steam has somewhere to go, maybe you use this. But you know what? I discovered smoothbore at an early age, and I'm just content with it.
Right on. I had two people say max points, laughing face, and a laugh out loud. So 100%, man. Crush number 4. Final question, number 5. Heavy fire, searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on the VES?
So again, right? That's a trick question, but the nozzle is still the best position in the American Fire Service. So if I had my choice, then I'm taking the nozzle. With that said, making that search is a different skill level above the nozzle. So we always talked about being a truck company boss, right? You never want to send somebody someplace you wouldn't go yourself. So in that scenario, you know, is there a report of people trapped above the fire? So now, as a boss, who's my OV? Oh, I trust him, right? So maybe I let him go and I try to get from the interior behind the line. But purely on those two things, with no other variables, you have to take the nozzle.
All right. All right. No, I love that. I love the answer. I love the thought process. And
Unless
that's
it has a 7/8 tip.
you
That's
got to
for
get it.
Steve. He'll know who I mean.
There you go. Never get that as an answer, Corley. Max points. Reminds me of that answer that was given a while back. What's best for civilian? Max points. Max points. Brother, the audience absolutely loves your answers. There it is. The next 5 questions for firefighters, according to Bob Pressler. Chief, if people want to get a hold of you and reach out to you and just either try to just get in touch with you, what's the best way to do so?
Email's the best. I may not get back to you the same day, but I will get back to you. And it's BO. You have my email. You can read it off yours, or I can say it. Doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
It's Bob Press 3, PRESS3 at gmail.com.
Right on.
And then, like you said, you know, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I go for the entertainment. You know, there's some pretty neat stuff out there. But you have to learn to vet the people you're reading. You know, it's even stuff I said tonight. There's got to be some things I said that not everyone agrees with. So that doesn't make me right and you wrong. But the smart firefighter takes 2 opinions and figures out which one works for them.
Right on. Right on. There we go. That officially makes it 192 scraps in the books. Housekeeping. Go to firehousevigilance.com. Mega Scrap Echo is on the way. It's coming. So just hang tight. I thought there was absolutely no way that the scrap could ever top 2022. And yet here we are with 1/3 of 2023 under the way, under our belt, and the scraps are crushing it. Bob Pressler tonight, the people we've had on this year and the people that are coming up, we are fast approaching number 200. Kurt Isaacson is going to be number 200. I absolutely want to make up for the 150 show where the internet did not hold up to our end of the bargain. So we're going to do it right. Lots of giveaways and tons of hype for 200. If you love the scrap, send me a picture, screenshot, whatever, of reviewing the scrap. I'll send you stickers. I'll bribe everybody all day long. If you absolutely, if you are not a part of the Vigilantes, go to firehousevigilance.com, become a part. You're missing out on the exclusive stuff, the Cool Kids Club, the Vigilante meetups, and the Vigilante forums. All of that being said, Bob Pressler, thank you for being such a phenomenal guest and making it a wonderful scrap and sharing your evening with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, the answers. Audience, thank you for your questions. You make the scrap magical. Thank you for tuning in live. I love you all. Remember, mutts don't scrap. I hope the tones stay silent unless it is burning. Everybody, stay safe out there.